Hello and welcome to Capital Connection with me, Kamran Yousaf. It is a show where we discuss issues that dominate Pakistan's national scene. Like always, let me first introduce my panelists tonight. We have with us in the studios Mr. Siddiqul Farooq. He is senior leader of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. Nusrat Wahid, she is member of the National Assembly representing ruling Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. And last but not the least, we have with us Mr. Fazlur Rahman Khan, senior journalist and political analyst. Many thanks to all of you joining us tonight on the Capital Connection. So Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz is in deep troubles. In fact, it has been reeling from one crisis to another over the past many months. The latest, of course, is the arrest of senior PMLN leader and former minister Khwaja Saad Rafiq and his brother in Paragon Housing Society case. The same day, Hamza Shehbaz, who is leader of the opposition in Punjab Assembly, was barred from leaving the country. And that's not all of it. Another PMLN leader, Maryam Aurangzeb, is facing investigations over assets beyond known sources of her income. PMLN and other opposition parties are calling this as witch hunting under the pretext of accountability. But the question is whether this is certainly a political victimization or a genuine accountability process as claimed by the PTI government and, of course, the National Accountability Bureau. So let's start the discussion with you, Mr. Siddiqul Farooq, since your party is feeling the heat of this accountability process. The reaction is already there. You call this as witch hunting and political victimization, and this is not a surprise because every party, when they face these kind of allegations, they say the same thing. So the question is, let's talk about Khwaja Saad Rafiq's case. These cases were instituted when your government, your party was actually in the government. So why are you calling this as political victimization? Because these cases are not framed by the current ruling party.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Kamran Yousaf. As a party and as a senior member of the party, we have never opposed accountability, and we will never oppose it. But it should be at par. It should look like that justice is being done. We are, of course, in hot waters these days, but we have been pushed. You said that these cases were constituted or registered during our government. And I think you know fully well what power actually we were enjoying during our 5 years. Dharnas, accountabilities, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's summoned by NAB, GIT, etc., and then being disqualified under the excuse of Akama, etc., etc., and then sent behind bars by a NAB court. The case failed to stand in High Court. And similarly, every NAB court is given the task to give sentence, especially to politicians. Similar is the case you refer to Khwaja Saad Rafiq. If he is guilty, we will not defend. But at the same time, when ruling party claims that it believes in accountability, despite the fact that it has destroyed the accountability setup and closed it in KPK during its 5 years term and wasted almost rupees 1 billion. So there are so many people within its own ranks, especially the Prime Minister.
We will come to that point as well. Your point is well taken.
Just let me complete it. So he must also be held accountable along with those ministers who are facing such charges. References are already there with
but
NAB,
the question is,
and they are in
the question is, you are of course responsible for your deeds or misdeeds Obviously, you can't say that because
If
NAB is
these
not
are-
acting against other politicians, so that's why you should also be given some kind of reprieve, because as I said, that these cases were registered when your party was in power, and when your party was in power, then your leaders were not arrested, and now when you were in opposition, your leaders are now
We were
being
not
arrested.
allowed to use power against that Mr. Rizvi.
Okay, let me
Why?
take let me take the discussion. Let me take the discussion
Okay.
forward. So there is a genuine, concern that obviously your party says that they will all in favor of across the board accountability. But at the same time, we don't see actually on the ground that there is across the board accountability. As Mr. Sadiqul Farooq pointed out, that there are number of cabinet ministers, even Prime Minister himself is facing investigations regarding the misuse of KPK government's helicopter. So in a way, this perception, do you think is right that this accountability process is only targeting the opposition leaders?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I totally agree with my PM that he said Ihtisab will start from me. And you have been watching this, that all the ministers, all the higher ups, those who are involved in NAB, they are constantly going there. They are not been arrested, but two of them have resigned. They get the allegation and they resign. So this is what actually is accountability is. When you are doing something wrong, you cannot be in the government. Now Zulfi Bukhari or Aleem Khan, somebody like this have been involved. So they are constantly going there. It's not that they have been some privilege that now we are in government, we should not.
No, the
go.
impression is that NAB is going soft on them because people cite the example. For example,
See?
Shehbaz Sharif was also cooperating
Yes,
with NAB
but,
authorities. He was
these,
going there, yet he was arrested. But on the other hand,
not on the very first day. They have been going there, and when they get some proof or when they get some material, they arrested him. When they will get that material from our side of people, they will arrest him. And everybody will be on accountability. It's not that we will favor somebody or not. And all these NAB cases, they are not started from our government time. They have been started in their own government. So why they were distributing sweets and everything to people, that they were so happy that this person has become the head of chairman of NAB. Why? Because they think that he is their man and he will
we
do
will
favor
come to this
them.
point as well. But let's take independent perspective. How do you see it? Because this is the divergent opinion. PTI says that look, that these cases were not registered by their government. These cases were registered or were undergoing during the previous administration, and you can't say that we are politically victimizing the opposition parties. How do you see it?
Kamran, I see this accountability process more of a smokescreen now in this phase, because when you have to compare it with the pre-election and post-election scenario after PTI came into power. In the pre-election scenario, the NAB was used like in the days of Musharraf. They used NAB to create PMLQ, and we have reported it with our own eyes, with our own pens, and we saw the coercive measures taken against the PML, and at that time the government was removed.
So there is no dictatorship right now. There is no dictatorship right now.
No, but
politically elected government.
We can, I'll say that we should not accuse PTI squarely for the misdeeds, if any, of the NAB right now. I think the NAB is being handled by more powerful people who want a breathing space for PTI. When you see PTI under some pressure, performance pressure, it is of their own making now. They gave 100 days agenda, they couldn't fulfill it. The Prime Minister is not having a good team. He is under pressure for the team's performance. Only 2 days back, you saw, the whole team was passed with 33 numbers, some of them, with flying colors also. But it was just, a mixed match, and Prime Minister had to delay the cabinet reshuffle, the performance evaluation for another 3 months. because he knows the team is not delivering to his own expectations. So I think it comes in phases. When PTI thinks it is under trouble, some hidden hand also helps it and gives it a breathing space. And now,
no, but the question is, NAB, according to the law, is an independent body and it acts independently on the face of it. So, and the government is saying the same thing, that we have no role whatsoever, whether with regard to Khwaja Saad Rafiq's arrest. So how could you say that, the PTI government is actually behind the scene working with NAB to target the opposition members?
Yeah, you have to take the NAB as a body, and you have from its origins also. In Musharraf's era, you have to see who were under scrutiny, who were targeted, who were in jail. At that time, you can remember the Interior Minister, the first Interior Minister of Mr. Jamali, Mr. Faisal Hayat. He was also under NAB investigation, and he was also Interior Minister. Aftab Sherpao and many others were under investigation. And now then comes the second phase, in which People's Party, made that Admiral retired, Fasih Bukhari, their NAB chief, and nothing happened. And then the two parties brought the former bureaucrat, the former Interior Secretary, as their NAB chief, and you could see it was not functional to that extent. Even this NAB chief, it was unanimous decision of the vote. They selected, the Prime Minister and opposition leader selected this NAB chief. But even then, it's it is not under the civilian, I think, apparatus. It doesn't take command from the civilian apparatus.
But still, I think the government, the previous government, the People's Party and the PMLN, have to share the blame, because they were the one who appointed the current chairman NAB, and even PTI say the same thing, that most of the appointments made by the previous administration in NAB. We will talk about it because now even Shehbaz Sharif, when today he was addressing in the National Assembly, and even the former Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, they called this NAB law as a draconian law, and Shahid Khaqan Abbasi even said that NAB should be abolished. The question is, when they were in government, why they didn't do it at that time? We will discuss this after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and of course we are discussing the arrest of Khwaja Saad Rafiq and his brother, and also other actions taken by NAB against opposition leaders, particularly from the PMLN. So before the break we were discussing, it is easier now that even your leadership is saying that NAB law is a draconian law and NAB should be abolished. Former Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi said this. But you were in government not long ago, so why you did not act at that time instead of saying that NAB is a draconian law and we should abolish it? What were you doing when you were in government?
Or the proper word is observation, was made by the apex court that NAB laws are draconian laws. NAB is not delivering. NAB is insulting, accused, etc., etc. As far as the appointment of chairman NAB is concerned, that was a constitutional obligation. It is in the constitution that Prime Minister and leader of the opposition will appoint chairman NAB.
So you had the chance to appoint the right person for the right job.
So when there was consensus on a person who had legal background, who was a judge of the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court or some of judges or some retired judges, when the government completes its term or anything other, they change their attitude or their policies. Now, you see, the other day, Chairman NAB said, if death penalty is imposed for corruption, half of the nation will get death penalty. Half of the nation is corrupt. This sweeping statement cannot be given. Must not.
So you should share the blame because you appointed the wrong person.
This is not the case.
I appointed the wrong person. You had the chance to appoint a right person for the right job.
We have appointed as far as the credentials were concerned, the qualification is concerned, a right man for the
Everybody
right job.
knows the credential of
No.
the current chairman NAB.
No. What I mean to say is that there was a time when he tried to function squarely. Now he is trying
No,
to
because
function.
I am asking this question. You appointed him
Appointment doesn't
because
mean
you
that we
appointed
are now
him
responsible
because
for
you
all
said
his
that
deeds.
in return that he won't touch both the parties.
If-
but because he was now acting independently, and that's why now you are crying foul.
It is not independent action. We appointed a person for playing not foul, for playing fair game. And if one
What-
starts,
I mean, the question is, what is fair game? When NAB, arrests opposition leaders, then you say that this is political victimization. So, what is fair play?
this is not
what
my
is fair play?
observation. You will share with me that when those who against whom there are references, they are sitting in the federal cabinet, Prime Minister himself is facing an accusation.
It's not an
While on the other hand,
accusation.
they have not filed formal reference so far against leader of the opposition, but he is behind the bar. This is where I say that the game is not fair. Now here, foul is fair and fair is foul.
Okay, there is another interesting, obviously you claim, your party, the government claim that NAB is acting independently, but we have seen statements from the information minister, even Sheikh Rashid, they predicting even weeks before that certain leaders from opposition would be arrested. If NAB is acting independently, how the government knew in advance that these people are going to be arrested? That's where the doubt comes.
It's not the government who knows. It's written on the wall. Everybody knows that now this will happen to this person or
Because
that
Prime
person.
Minister said that there are 50 people who would be
No,
behind the bars.
he was just saying it. It's not that he
Now, how
named
would you say that
everybody.
this is written on the wall that
Because we have seen that cases are going there, and we know who has been corrupt and who is doing wrong practices. He said that Prime Minister has the allegation of using helicopter of KPK. If he has used it once and he has been accused of that, can't they see that how badly they have used? Their breakfast is going from one city to another city. They want to
No,
come.
my question is not
justifies
not
how
the
wrong-
question.
No, it's not
Now,
justification.
my wrong justifies Imran Khan wrong.
No, he is not doing.
So then don't give this argument.
No, because he is not doing any corruption. He has been working so hard.
No,
Once he has
misuse
used
is not a
a
corruption. I mean, if he's
helicopter,
using
yes.
the
Once he has
resources
used,
of the KPK government.
It was in previous government. He has
The house in which he right now lives is irregular.
No, the question arises because obviously, in your perspective, all those who support PTI, they think that rest of the parties are corrupt, and your party
No,
or your
we
leader,
also have corrupt people,
your
definitely,
leader is not the one who support corruption. So that's why people expect high standards from your party and your
Definitely,
leader.
we have been
But if you justify,
watching this,
saying that
yes.
look, that the previous government did the same, so that's why there is nothing wrong with that if he used the helicopter.
No, he didn't use it in this term. He used it before when we were only in KPK, and that was he was going whenever NAB is calling him. If he has done wrong
No,
or
But the NAB is not calling him. That's
No.
why the NAB is going
Yes.
slow. That's why there is a perception.
But he has been going there, when
No.
when they
He hasn't yet
call
appeared.
him.
He hasn't
yeah,
yet.
for this helicopter. But other cases he went there. I've seen him going in court or in NAB. I don't know exactly, but he has been going there.
Those
and
were
all the
different
others,
cases.
all the other
He visited
ministers,
court seldom. Most
the
of the
Prime
time
Minister,
adjournments. He
has to
enjoyed
do
adjournments.
So why not? Why not?
Why?
He should.
Why?
Because
If
he has
leader
that
of the
post,
opposition
he
The
should-
former
court
Prime
can't
Minister.
control the court. Do you think that the same court, Islamabad High Court, also gave a bail and suspended the the conviction of
I am
former Prime
referring to
Minister Nawaz Sharif?
NAB. I am referring to NAB court. Nawaz
Then NAB
Sharif is
will call him.
facing
he will go.
the case, the hearing.
The reason is
daily.
Nawaz Sharif was in power for how
This
many
is
decades?
not reason, my
Because-
dear.
From
Now
last
here,
30
being in
years,
power,
they have
the
been
same case
ruling.
that he has misused helicopter.
Once.
His 1 billion
And that
tsunami
is-
tree case is there.
Okay,
It's
That
not,
is also
it's not
there.
corruption.
let me ask
Yeah.
Mr. Fassi here. What do you think? How the government can dispel that perception? Because there is a genuine perception Because even today, Islamabad High Court issued a decision in which they removed the name of Zulfi Bukhari from exit control list. But on the other day, we saw Hamza Shehbaz was barred from leaving the country because he was told his name was first on the blacklist and now the exit control list, although the PMLN says that he was facing no formal investigations. Do you think that these apparent double standards create misperceptions among the public that this accountability process is not fair?
I think there are two different ball games. In one case, a court has given relief to a person for the namesake, in the case of Zulfi Bukhari.
No, interestingly, during this judgment, the court observed that since Zulfi Bukhari was cooperating with the NAB authority, so there was no point that his name should be placed on the exit control list. On the other hand, there was no formal investigation going on against Hamza Shehbaz,
the leader of the opposition.
Yet his name was placed on the exit control list.
The government has used its discretion in the case of Hamza Shehbaz because there is naturally enmity going on between the two parties. And in totality, if you see the Imran Khan-led government, you were mentioning that he is going through two dilemmas. One is a performance dilemma, and other is an expectation dilemma from public, from his voters, from his party, from the public at large. I think what he is trying to do is that they set wrong goals or attach wrong expectation for the first 100 days, and now they are trying to set the things again, to reset the whole thing, and buy some time, get some time to meet the public expectations. And when you see the cabinet under him, it is performing lackluster, it is not up to the mark. So the whole thing jumbles up. He, on one hand, he has to go through, he has to satisfy his vote bank, and on the other hand, he has to perform. And the one thing that I wanted to mention especially is the non-performing, non-functional parliament. This is a very important aspect of the government and the legislature. They didn't come up with a single bill because the standing committees were not there. The PAC is another matter, part of it. But then if you have a non-functioning parliament, you can't legislate, and you can't do the legislation, or you can't run the government through ordinances only.
And the PTI blamed the opposition because even today, when the National Assembly session was taking place, there was heated debate on this question of accountability, and some of the ruling party members said that instead of discussing the most pressing issues that the country has been facing, opposition parties are more keen discussing their own cases and even talking about political vendetta and the unfair accountability process. And because of this reason, the entire parliamentary proceeding has been hijacked. So we will talk about this aspect, but after this short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and of course we are discussing controversy regarding the recent arrests of PMLN leaders and certain other cases being pursued by National Accountability Bureau. This accountability process has also been echoed in the National Assembly session today, where both the opposition and the ruling party members had heated exchanges. And during that proceeding, one of the ministers, Mr. Murad Saeed, claimed that at least 7 members of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz approached him for NRO, and one of them even was sitting in the National Assembly. So may I ask, do you have any information, because this has been going on for some time, that probably the PMLN is playing a victim card because they are seeking NRO? And today Murad Saeed claimed that at least 7 members of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz approached him for NRO, but he flatly refused. Do you have any information that your members or your party is seeking NRO?
Kamran, is it formally a martial law regime? And is IK, Chief Martial Law Administrator, having the powers beyond Constitution beyond courts to give NRO to somebody? This is not the case. How can they give NRO to any opposition member? Let me say, including
So who can give you the NRO?
No one. No one can. Since there are courts, since there is...
So if there was someone who can give you the NRO, you
they
should
are
have,
telling lies.
would have you approached?
No, not at all. Nawaz Sharif came from London along with his daughter to go to jail. He was requested, suggested to stay there by high-ups, and he refused.
But in recent weeks, he
Just-
kept quiet.
Keeping quiet is
And
something
people
different.
were saying even Mariam
Kamran-
Nawaz was not
Mr.
saying a
Kamran,
single
this-
word. So people are drawing a conclusion that there might be something going on behind the scene. That's
Nawaz
why
Sharif
they kept quiet.
Nawaz Sharif continuously for 3 days has criticized this government and asked why Alima Khan is not being investigated and why Alima Khan is not being held accountable, and so on and so forth.
But he is not repeating his
let me-
previous narrative that
Just
why
one
he
minute.
was removed from power.
He
Everybody knows because he was really soft. Some people say that this is also indication.
He now elected leader of the opposition, and president of the party is Shehbaz Sharif. There are so many leaders. This is our policy. You may differ, you may support, but this is our policy.
So you are doing
and
this
we,
as per-
and we are not going to accept or receive any dictation from any corner. But let me say, as far as the NAB is concerned, Prime Minister, when he's meeting with anchor persons about a question regarding NAB, said NAB is an independent institution. And then he corrected himself by saying that, government has enormous powers and it can do what it wants. Then and there. Then the chairman...
Certainly, the government
Yes.
has enormous powers. They have the, FIA.
About-
they have other institutions to,
about NAB,
pursue.
with reference to context. The question was asked about NAB. Now, secondly, Chairman NAB said that when we touch government institutions or government functionaries, our funds are then stopped. They don't release our funds. What this
came only
tells?
3 months
What
back.
does this tell? He said just, I think, a week before, when your government came in. So the situation is totally different. Policies are different. When Khadim Rizvi stages a sit-in for 23 days, we are told don't use force. And when he stages a sit-in for 3 days, force is used. And so on and so forth.
So in that sense, okay,
we
I
are
got
faced-
your point. So in that sense, you are really lucky that all the state institutions, be it the security establishment, be it the judiciary, is really backing your government. In that sense, this is
They don't
very
hesitate to
apt
claim, just
observation.
let me add one sentence. They don't hesitate to claim that judiciary, establishment and government are on one page. Judiciary, yes.
Because their claim is Prime Minister
Yes, they
Imran
claim.
Khan is not a corrupt leader. He is an
Yes.
honest man, and that's why he enjoys support from all the state institutions.
Can judiciary support? Can judiciary be on the same page, being an independent?
He didn't say judiciary. He said
Independent
army
institution.
and government is on
Judiciary.
the same page.
But
Continuously.
that is also on record that Imran Khan is the first Prime Minister to be invited by the Supreme Court of Pakistan on any, to be chief guest at a ceremony, because that has never happened before.
So many things
Only Prime
are
Ministers
going
were
on.
summoned
Yes,
to the
because,
courtroom number one.
It's okay.
Invited,
I think it's a very
not summoned.
positive thing.
He was invited.
No, I'm saying that only previously, the previous Prime Ministers were only invited, summoned
Yes,
by the...
he was summoned and he is invited.
Because
He is
they
invited,
have
yes.
corruption cases. Everyone knows that they have been ruling Punjab and Pakistan from the last 30 years. And whatever they have been doing, we know, everybody knows. Where the money has gone from $6 billion to $18 billion. Where that money has gone, they made projects, but those projects are, one can see that 1 year after, bricks has been fallen, people have been dying, or road has become Niagara Fall, or whole bus is going down in that whatever metro was there. So they actually got the money and they didn't use it where it should be. So that's why they have their cases, and we will be accountable if we will not do the things correctly. And if the court is protecting, or court is on the same page, army is on the same page, and government is on the same page, because they know that this is an honest government and whatever they will do it honestly.
Do you agree with this, Mr. Fastur Rahman, that this government or Prime Minister Imran Khan, since is honest person, he has no baggage as far as financial wrongdoings are concerned, and that's why all the state institutions really respect him and give him the support, because these things were not really there when the Nawaz Sharif or Zardaris were in power.
Yeah, on the face of it, it seems that he is being given some space. He's being given a chance. And even the establishment doesn't have that leverage or that much options when they exclude PMLN or People's Party. People's Party has been given a share in power in this setup also with the Sindh government. PMLN has been deprived of Punjab's governance, Punjab's government. And that was by design. Because Imran said that if PTI doesn't have or enjoy the Punjab government...
What do you mean by design?
No.
Don't you think that PTI genuinely swept the polls from Punjab province?
They didn't swept. They were close to PMLN.
I mean, at least that they were able to form the government
and the independents
along with certain...
and the independents played a major role. And who coerced or persuaded the independents to be part of the PTI, that is also a separate debate. It's a big thing. The quarters that persuaded or coerced the MPs to side with the PTI party in the Punjab province. But what I need to say that Imran has been given a space. Imran, they need Imran to perform for the country's sake, for the economy's sake, and the critical situation Pakistan is facing right now at this moment also. But the way they are handling, the PTI is handling on the political front, on media front, I think that is also debatable, very much objectionable. When you are given a mandate to rule the country and you are being given a space by the powerful institutions also, you need to act wisely also. They didn't tell you to pick up a fight every now and then in the parliament. Don't make the parliament functional. Don't make the separate or acceptable to all
or this could be
laws.
A policy, because some people may say that the main objective is just to crush the two main opposition parties and move the country towards a one political system. Some people even say these things.
that may be a grand design or a conspiracy theory also, but on the face of it, on the ground, I think whenever you will see in the last 3-4 months, whenever the PTI comes under pressure, performance pressure, expectation pressure, voter pressure, they open up a new front, accountability front. They pick up a new fight, because it is easy to deflect the big issues while you are indulged in such an issue.
But the question is, at the end of the day, PTI government will have to perform, will have to live up all the promises that they made with the people. Of course, that it does look good that on the face of it that they are pursuing this accountability process, they are fighting corruption, but they have made certain promises and they have to fulfill that. Our discussion, of course, will continue, but we have to go for a break here, so stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and we are, of course, debating the recent controversies regarding the arrest of certain PMLN leaders and also the cases being pursued by NAB against certain other opposition politicians. And that created a lot of debate in the country and also inside the National Assembly. So, Mr. Siddiqul Farooq, what is the way forward? I mean, as Mr. Fastur Rahman also pointed out, that it appears that there is a deadlock even in the National Assembly, in the Parliament, in fact, and we have seen that no committees have been constituted, no appointment of Public Accounts Committee chairmen yet, and do you think that this is really bad omen for fragile democracy in Pakistan? Because at some stage, opposition and the government will have to work together to strengthen this process.
Way forward is strictly observing the constitution, democratic traditions, merit, keeping the scales even. Every institution, including judiciary, armed forces, parliament, executive, has to remain within its constitutional limits.
Aren't they working within their constitutional limits?
No.
How can you say that?
When
you have elected government, duly elected Prime Minister.
It is not an elected government. Now, after the report of FOFIN and European Union and observations, it has been created on the basis of false Form 45. So this government doesn't enjoy
but this cannot change the reality. You know, the government is there. Prime Minister Imran Khan is the chief executive of Pakistan. Things will not change because you don't believe it.
This is de facto government.
Because this is our history. This is our history. Even when your government took over, 2013, same allegations were leveled against you.
Not at all.
Your government was also selected.
Now let me answer.
Because opposition never gets satisfied.
On the demand of Imran Khan, a judicial commission under the leadership of a person proposed and suggested, not anybody else but Imran Khan, was constituted, and that commission, after inquiring the whole issue and all the questions referred to that commission by Tehreek-e-Insaf, was not approved, rejected. And they held that except few minor complaints,
so until there is a final judgment or any commission come up with the substantive, you can't say that these elections were not fair, because this is your claim. Even before the Judicial Commission last time, Imran Khan was exactly claiming the same. But after the Judicial Commission,
35 punctures, four constituencies, all proved wrong, and on the allegation of 35 punctures,
who knows that your allegations may prove wrong once there is a Judicial Commission or any such thing.
Now, with consensus, a parliamentary committee has been appointed, but so far the TORs which have been suggested by the opposition are not being approved.
Okay, we are running out of time.
But just 1 minute.
Because we have only 4 minutes.
I will refer to my sister's allegations. Look, they inherited $18 billion as stated by their finance minister. He said that we took a loan of credit of $45 billion, but we paid back $20 billion. Different projects amounting to $20 billion were completed regarding CPAC. Similarly, the power generation, 12,000 megawatts power were generated by our government. So we gave them a government, a country in better position rather than we inherited.
But everybody knows now they are running pillar to post.
Because
they are going to the friendly countries.
Expertise
they are seeking IMF
begging bowl.
If you hand it over country,
they are responsible for dharnas, etc., for destroying our economy. But even then, despite their efforts, we were doing well.
Okay,
5.8 GDP.
I was asking the way forward because Parliament is very important, because it is mother of democracy. Your government and your party is not compromising, let's say, on the appointment of the Public Accounts Committee chairman. There is a clear consensus among all the opposition parties that leader of the opposition should be.
This is a tradition also.
As part of the Charter.
Commonwealth countries have to follow this.
What's your issue? Why you have reservations? Give the chairmanship to the leader of the opposition.
Shehbaz Sharif.
Shehbaz Sharif.
Who is in jail.
He
and
is
who has
leader of the
cases.
opposition despite being in jail
We can't give
because he is facing accusations
position
not
to a
approved,
person
not proved.
who is
anything.
accountable
Let her
in
complete
NAB, who is accountable in different cases, and how can he will have
But he is at the
judgment
moment is
on
accused.
his-
He is not
yes,
convicted yet.
Yes,
The moment he is
yes.
convicted, he won't be member of the National
but
Assembly.
he how can he will do you can say his brother's thing, whatever wrong he has done, he will
No,
justify that thing.
opposition parties has given the way out. They said that, look, okay, fine, you appoint Shehbaz Sharif as chairman Public Accounts Committee, and if there are any audit paras related to the PMLN government, you can
There are other
constitute a subcommittee headed by a
Today,
PTI guy.
I
So
think
what's wrong with that?
2 days before we agreed on a previous speaker and someone else name that they will consider it. If it's okay, we will make one of them as
Do you
Your
see
suggestion.
any way out here? Do you see that this deadlock may end anytime soon? Because opposition parties did give a way out that look, that if you have reservations that Shehbaz Sharif may be overseeing the audit paras of the his own brother's government, and opposition party says that if there are any issues related to the previous government, they can constitute a subcommittee headed by a PTI member of the National Assembly. Do you think that this could bridge the gap between the government and opposition parties?
I think only when PTI checks its own, rhetoric, its tone, tenor, they will have to tone down. When you tone down, you negotiate with the opposition. There can be, as the lady is mentioning, there can be a give and take. But when you accuse of them of being thieves every now and then, and you don't have solution when you come up with Fawad Chaudhary and Shafqat Mahmood in every proceeding accusing the opposition of being thieves and of being dacoits. You can't do that with you have to sit down, you have to negotiate, you have to make some give and take. And also I think when you were referring to the way forward for Imran Khan, I think now enough has been done, enough damage has been done. He has to focus on reform, education, health, bureaucratic. What happened to the police reforms in Punjab? The reformer in chief has resigned also way back. So I think he has to focus on reforms. He has to come up with solutions. He has to give Pakistan a good governance, and that would happen.
And for that he needs legislation.
He needs
legislation. And for legislation, you need to constitute
majority.
committees. You need the support of opposition parties.
And with such a thin majority, he can't do all things. And when in Senate, the PTI is in very thin minority. So I think he has to have some give and take, but I think the sanity will prevail, and he will realize within 2 or 3 months that such tactics, high-ended tactics, won't work. He will have to come up with saner persons, some people who can negotiate with opposition, and he has to forward the saner voices in his own ranks.
Well, it remains to be seen. One sentence, very quick, because we are running out of time.
Constitution, traditions, objectivity. This is the way out.
Okay, it remains to be seen that how that will be implemented. Many thanks indeed, Mr. Siddiqul Farooq, Nusrat Wahid, and Mr. Fasiur Rahman. That's it from this edition of Capital Connection. Thanks for watching.